In this presentation, I will describe what phrasal verbs are. I will also describe why phrasal verbs cause special problems for EL students in both grammar and vocabulary. Finally, I will share 2 teaching ideas that will help EL students better understand phrasal verbs. A phrasal verb is a verb plus a particle. This combination of a verb and a particle creates a different meaning from the original verb. Phrasal verbs are also called 2-word or 3-word verbs. Common 2-word phrasal verbs include come up, come back, go back, pick up, set up, go on, carry out, go out, point out, and find out. Common 3-word phrasal verbs include look up to, make sure of, put up with, catch up with, check up on, come up with, cut down on, drop out of, get along with, and get rid of. In the sentence, he put out the fire, the verb put is not enough to convey the meaning of the sentence. To understand this sentence, we need to use both put and out. Plus, the meaning of put out is not equal to the meaning of put and out. Put out is a phrasal verb. It is also an idiom, which makes it challenging for EL students to understand. Some phrasal verbs are intransitive. In grammar, an intransitive verb does not take a direct object. In the sentence, he will suddenly show up cannot take a direct object. Therefore, show up is an intransitive phrasal verb. Other phrasal verbs are transitive. A transitive verb is followed by one or more objects. In the sentence, I will make up the story. Story is the object of make up. Therefore, make up is a transitive phrasal verb. To add to the confusion for EL students, phrasal verbs can be separable and non-separable. With separable phrasal verbs, the particle can float when the object is a noun. We can say, he tried on the suit, or he tried the suit on. Both sentences are grammatically correct and convey the same meaning. In non-separable phrasal verbs, the verb cannot be separated from the particle. In the sentence, the baby depends on her mother, we cannot separate depends and on. It would be ungrammatical to say, the baby depends her mother on. As mentioned previously, phrasal verbs cause special problems for EL students in both grammar and vocabulary. When first introduced to phrasal verbs, EL students are often surprised because very few other languages use phrasal verbs. A common grammar error among EL students is to not use the whole phrasal verb. For example, in the sentence, they carried the president's plan, the student omitted the particle out. Although phrasal verbs present grammatical challenges to EL students, the biggest challenge is lexical. The entire phrasal verb determines the meaning of an entire sentence or utterance. EL students are required to learn a large number of new vocabulary because each new phrasal verb is a vocabulary unit. Due to this difficulty, many EL students avoid using phrasal verbs, whereas a native speaker might say, I need to look into the price of a new Jeep. An EL student would most likely say, I need to investigate the price of a new Jeep. Not using phrasal verbs makes the EL student's English sound formal and strange. A fun way to practice phrasal verbs is through games. First, introduce a list of 10 or fewer phrasal verbs that fall into a logical category. After practicing the phrasal verbs in spoken and written language, play a game like bingo. In this game, the teacher gives a synonym and the students locate the phrasal verb. For example, the teacher says postpone and the students locate put off on their bingo cards. The first student with 5 across wins. A second way to teach phrasal verbs to EL students is context. This strategy is especially effective for older students and adults. You may be tempted to present each phrasal verb with a definition, but this may not give EL students a clear understanding of how each phrasal verb is used. To present a phrasal verb, display the following sentence. Did you hear about Staples? They recently purchased Office Depot. Staples took over Office Depot. Help students figure out what took over means using context. After this, give students many examples of phrasal verbs using places, events, and people the students are familiar with. Above all, help students understand the meaning of the phrasal verbs beyond the mere memorization of definitions. In summary, a phrasal verb is a verb plus a particle. Phrasal verbs are also called 2- and 3-word verbs. Phrasal verbs are informal expressions and are usually idiomatic, which means the definitions of the separate words do not add up to the meaning of the entire phrasal verb. Phrasal verbs can be transitive or intransitive. Phrasal verbs can also be separable or non-separable. Phrasal verbs present special challenges for EL students in both grammar and vocabulary. Finally, there are effective ways to teach phrasal verbs to EL students beyond merely memorizing definitions. Thank you for watching.